Live from the Bay Area's news station, this is KRON4 News.
Hang on, I'm going to Twitter Henry.
Oh, you are?
Yeah, Henry, what's on your segment here?
Ooh, that was too long, Isabel.
Was it?
Keep it down to 140 characters, would you please? The producer would rather be kept it down to 5 seconds or so. So, in 1876, it was Alexander Graham Bell who said, "Mr. Watson, come here, I need you." That's how the telephone started. And it was in, let's see, 2006 that the first Twitter went out, waiting for Dom to update more. This is Dom. He wrote the second Twitter, which went, "Oh, this is going to be addictive." The second tweet ever sent.
That's right.
Dom is one of the co-founders of Twitter, and he is going to share with us his book, 140 Characters, a style guide for the short form, coming up on KRON4 News Weekend.
Good.
Hang on a second, I have to talk on the air here for just a moment. Therefore, since brevity is the soul of wit, and tediousness the limbs and outward flourishes, I will be brief. So said Polonius in Hamlet, written by William Shakespeare. Polonius was not brief. However, had he been on Twitter, had he been tweeting, he would have had to be brief, because on Twitter, of course, one is limited to 140 characters. One of the co-founders of Twitter has written a book about the art and the science of tweeting. It's called 140 Characters, a style guide for the short form, by Dom Sagolla. Thank you very much for joining us, Dom.
Thank you for having me.
First of all, you were there at the creation. You sent the second tweet ever. Can you describe how did this whole Twitter concept develop? What is the concept?
Well, the concept is whatever you want it to be, wherever you are, in 140 characters or less. That's how I define it.
Okay, but when a bunch of guys sat down and said, "Gee, we need a new project," which is what happened,
Right.
Somebody said, "I know, let's what?"
Oh, we wanted to solve the problem of groups online. See, we had these walled gardens of social networks like Facebook, Friendster at the time, MySpace, and we didn't see a way that your identity or your social crowd could follow you from one site to the next.
Right.
And so we sat down to reinvent ourselves. We were a podcasting company at the time, and we were forced to reinvent ourselves. And so we brainstormed, and Jack came up with this idea to do an update from wherever you are, just like you'd have a dispatch for you know, emergencies or for you know, hospitals, but a dispatch for you and your friends and your family.
Right, it's what we used to call narrowcasting in broad. The discussion was, well, there'll be narrowcasting, where I'll be able to send stuff out to 25 people or 50 people.
Right.
Well, at the time we didn't think about the internet, but basically that's what you can do. The question then is, how do you get people to pay attention to you? There are thousands of people out there sending out these tweets, and frankly, nobody's paying attention to most of them.
That's true. It also, like I was saying earlier, it depends on who they are. So, you know, I don't need thousands of people necessarily paying attention if I have one or two important people following me. But there are some age-old tricks, and they're mostly about what words you choose to use. And that's why I wrote the book. The book is about words, about writing, and it's about how to be effective in a very short space.
Okay, before we even get to how you do the writing, the question, well, no, maybe I'm putting the cart before the horse here. Okay, you've done your brilliant, concise writing, your brevity, but then how do you get anybody to notice it, or the people you want to have notice it?
Right, so there are a couple of ways. There's this @reply or @mention, they call it. It's where you use an @ before a person's username.
Yeah.
And so if you're not following me, for example, and I want you to notice me, I can use your username in public, and I can say @Henry Tenenbaum or whatever your username is,
right,
and say, you know, loved the show, would love to be on next time. And then you would say, oh, you know, you'd be checking your replies wherever you are.
Right.
Say, oh, you know, Dom liked being on the show. I'd love to have him next time. So
no, but how does that differ from just getting on and doing an email of the same thing?
Let's see. So there are a couple of things. The email is a push medium.
Yes.
And Twitter is a pull medium. So if I give you my email address, you have that email address, and you can continue to send me messages, and I can't quite stop you unless I filter you, which is a system on top of the metaphor. But with a pull system, like TiVo, for example, you decide when you want to consume something and how.
Well, that's the problem with Twitter, though. I don't know that I can, you know, there are people who I love dearly, but, you know, I'm busy right now. I can't really pay attention to that message.
Well, that's the point. So you can do it on your time and your terms, and you can do it with your device, as you were saying.
Right.
You know, with other media, emails are somewhat of a good example, because you can now have your email on your phone with you.
Yeah.
But with Twitter, you don't need a data network, for example. And a lot of these social networks are following the SMS approach, where you can do it just on any cell phone.
Sending a text messages, basically.
Right, and that's how it started, actually.
Okay, so for old people like me, I mean, I have the feeling this is all going to converge. That Twitter has this almost an artificial construct of 140 characters, but that gradually there's going to be some sort of a brief or semi-brief system that does the same thing.
Yeah,
what's your view of the future here?
There are some copycats. Here's what I see. I see the future kind of following the model of the past, which is we started out with this SMS application. And it was important because you could do it on any phone.
Right.
At the time,
it was phone to phone is what we're talking about here.
That's right.
Yeah.
And at the time, there weren't these smartphones. There were one or two of them, and they were very popular. So you had to do it over SMS. And so a great example is India. India's had Twitter for a long time, ever since we started. It's been on the web. But now Twitter is in India because there's a shortcode there, and folks can use it wherever they are on their cell phones.
Saves them money.
Saves them money, keeps them from having to be chained to a desk. And that's the key, I think, is the mobility.
Okay, well, we barely scratched the surface, but we had to do it in 140 characters, so more details, by the way. Listen, if you happen to be in Amsterdam, November 25th through 27th, there's an iPhone developers conference going on there, and Dom will be speaking there. And if you happen to be in Seattle on December 1st, we're going global here. There's also a conference there, and for more information, you can go to 140characters.com. And the book is called 140 Characters, a style guide for the short form. It's fascinating. Did you know there's actually a form of haiku for Twitter now? There's even a website for. I did a little research on this.
Good, yeah.
It's created a whole remarkable phenomenon. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
I guess thanks for helping create Twitter, I think. Thanks very much. We're going to take a break. When we come back, the latest news, the latest weather, and we're going to be finding out about the philosophical baby. Don't go away. You're watching KRON4 News Weekend.